Hey gamers, how are you doing? In this video I'm going to talk about the games that I spend more time playing in the Amiga. If you're new to the channel, please click the subscribe and notification button so you don't miss a thing. Let's start. Mega Twins. The Amiga version of this game is almost arcade perfect. This game is very simple, with very simple gameplay. And that is a compliment, because it's simple and fun. Each player is armed with a magic sword. We proceed in the game, we also collect magic bombs. Each one, when fired, will cause damage to all enemies in the screen. We can choose the level that we are going to start: Earth, Water or Sky. The water level, the gameplay is a little different. The same as happened in the games such as Super Mario or Donkey Kong. After finish these 3 levels, we play in more 5 different levels, but this time we can't choose the order. Every level have at least 2 boss fights, and all of them very original and very well designed. This was one of the games that me and my friends liked to play the most, because the game was very fun to play in 2-player mode. Apidia. To this day, this game remains exclusive in the Commodore Amiga. The player controls a bee, capable of launching a number of projectiles. The game uses the power-up bar system. Destroying enemies sometimes leave a power-up in the form of the red and yellow flower. The player may collect these flowers and activate new weapons. A build-up weapon, very similar to the bean weapon in the R-Type series, is also available. The musical soundtrack of the game was composed by the master Crystal Beck, the same genius that composed the music in all Turricans. A high-quality arrangement of the soundtrack was released as the CD album in 1992. I first played this game in the Amiga because me and my friends loved to play in Sector X in the arcades, and this game is very similar. The game was largely praised as a fine example of the shoot-'em-up genre. Amiga Power magazine described the game as offering more playable than any other shoot-'em-up. Moonstone is an action role-playing video game. The player takes on the role of the knight who is sent by the druids to return the mystical Moonstone. The gameplay consists in 2 different modes: turn-based exploration and real-time combat. In turn-based mode, each player can move a limited distance in the game map and visit various locations. We can visit many tombs across the map. These places represent areas guarded by monsters. Visiting these tombs, we fight against many monsters and other knights. The player takes control of the knight that attempts to defeat the monster using a sword combat similar to Barbarian. Defeating the monsters, we are rewarded with treasures, weapons, objects and points. The objective of the exploration is to find the lair that holds one of the 4 keys, either by finding them or by stealing them from rivals. We'll have access to the Valley of Gods. One cool thing about the game is after some days a very strong dragon will appear, flying through the map. If a beginner or unskilled player isn't comfortable enough to encounter the dragon early in the game, defeat is almost a certain, because the dragon is almost as strong as the last boss in the game. This game is also notable as one of the goriest games at this time, with many bloody fights, brutal fatalities. In the end of some fights there are so much blood spilled that covers almost all the floor. Bubble Bobble is, in my opinion, one of the best arcade games ever made, and the Amiga's port was one of the best. Each player controls one of the 2 little dragons, Boob and Bob. The gameplay is very original. The player can jump on platforms and blow bubbles to trap enemies inside. We can also jump on bubbles, even if an enemy is trapped inside, to reach either platforms. After defeating all the enemies, we proceed to the next stage. If the player takes too long to complete a level, a message appears on the screen that says "Hurry up," and all the enemies turn angry, which is indicated by them turning red and moving faster. If the stage is not clear soon after, an invincible enemy, a whale, appears and chases Bob and Bob. That whale only disappears after the player each defeats all the enemies or lose a life. Certain levels contain special bubbles, thunder, water and fire, super fast bubbles, or even shoes to gain more speed. The music is very cool and gets stuck in our heads. Is that kind of music that we put babies to sleep? Besides mine, I put power ballads of Scorpions, Metallica, Halloween, Ozzy, Iron Maiden, and some more. And it works. I think it's in the blood. There are 100 levels in Bubble Bobble. Most of them we need to find the right strategy or see the enemy's movement to avoid losing lives. At the final level, the player fights the final boss of the game, Super Dunk. Super Dunk moves around the stage, throwing bottles. Bob and Bob need to collect the Thunder Tonic to blow thunder bubbles. After being hit enough times, Super Dunk is trapped into a bubble and Bob and Bob can pop to defeat him. There isn't much to say about the Turrican trilogy in the Amiga. In my opinion, they are one of the best games ever made. The gameplay is one of the best ever made. And the game have a good story for the genre. The enemies, the weapons, everything in Turrican franchise is all very well done. The level design is very good. Turrican was a little inspired by Metroid. It also had the Morph Ball, but with the huge level designs.
Power up. Shield. Stay down. Power up.
Turrican did not force the player to complete a linear level. Instead, the player can explore each level and uncover its secrets. In my opinion, Turrican 2 is the best in the franchise, but unfortunately, they never make it the port to the Sega Genesis or the Super Nintendo. Super Nintendo adds two new and exclusive Turricans, Super Turrican 1 and 2. Space Crusade. It was based on the Space Crusade board game. It is a turn-based game that we control three teams, the Ultramarines, Imperial Fist and my favorite, the Blood Angels. This is probably the game that me and my friends played the most. Each team have a commander and 4 marines. The commander can choose between 3 different weapons, and the marines have one with a bolter, one with a plasma, one with a machine gun and one with a bazooka. The enemies are very cool. We fight against another marines, a skeleton and an alien called Soul Sucker. I never gonna forget his name. That enemy kills me so many marines and the entire teams. This game is very cool to play with 2 friends, each one controlling a team. Playing one player mode, we can also control the 3 teams, but it's not as fun. I love many turn-based games, as Fire Emblem, Advanced Wars, Final Fantasy Tacticals, Tactical Orcs, Onimusha Tacticals, but to this day Space Crusade is still my favorite. Silkworm was one of the best games in the 80s. It was released in the arcade, Amiga, Spectrum, Atari, Commodore 64, the original NES, and maybe more. Silkworm had very good graphics and a killer gameplay. We take control of a jeep with a machine gun or a helicopter. In the single player mode, it is much easier to play with the helicopter than the jeep. Playing in single mode with the jeep was much harder. The player needs to destroy everything in front of it or be prepared to jump in order to avoid collision. In two-player mode, the helicopter downfire destroyed many of the obstacles in front of the jeep. Playing in two-player mode was over the top for both players, because we must cooperate and players depends on each other to succeed. Silkworm had a wild variety of enemies. All levels have a middle and a final boss. On the release, Silkworm was met with positive reviews in all the magazines at the time. I don't remember to play this game in the single mode. I always play in two-player modes, and the competition against my friends was high. We gave it all to not to lose a single race. We left the sweat, the blood, the tears in every game. There are 80 different tracks. First place result earned the player points to continue in the championship. With money, you can upgrade your truck or buy more nitros. The goal is to reach the end of the season with the most money. This is one of the first games where we can update the car by earning points or money, a system that is used in many racing games today. I don't play racing games that much, but this game was completely different from the other Amiga racing games. So gamers, there are any Amiga gamers out there? Which are the games that you play the most? Thanks for watching the video and hope you enjoyed.